So, Kay,
Correct.
do you find it hard to date at 50? Do you find it like really hard? Is it different for you now?
It's different for me because being out of the dating scene for so long, and then when I was younger, of course, you really wouldn't call it dating. You were just out having fun, and if you had a girlfriend or someone serious, not saying you weren't dating, but now, it's different for me because I have three daughters. I have a career, I have a lot of responsibilities. So, dating can be challenging, especially if you're finding folks that basically just don't have, some of the commonality, some of just the common things that you have, like if you
Mhm.
guys aren't on the same wavelength or have different interests, and nothing wrong with different interests, but I feel like you guys have to have something in common to really to
Right.
mesh. Yeah, so dating for me right now, it's just one of those things, and it's scary actually because
Mhm.
being knowing where I am in my life right now and where I've been, dating can be scary, especially when you meet someone you don't know, who they are, if they have hidden agendas and that sort of thing. So yeah.
And you said something very important. So that leads me to, do you feel like dating people that are familiar or people that you don't know, is that better? Do you find that to be better for your situation? Dating someone that's familiar that you already know and you've gone back, or would that be better if you just find somebody new that you don't know?
Well, great point. I think it really just depends on that person from your past, if that person where they are in their life, because I particularly, I had a friend and we were really really close when we were in our 20s. Now we're older, and I
Hmm.
just find that I'm just at a different point in my life than where she is,
Hmm.
and still care about her and everything, but it was one of those things where I just felt like, okay, this is not something that I'm even gonna pursue because I know where I am in my life and I know where she is. So it is kind of tough when you've had, depending on how you and that particular person ended things. Like, did you guys end things, as friends? Was it bitter?
Hmm.
Was it contentious? I think if it was contentious, I think that's something that, I wouldn't go back to something like that unless the person, let's say I see this person, they apologize. We all have done things that we regret in our past, but I
Hmm.
know I'm just not trying to go backwards. I'm trying to go forward. So
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
What about you?
Mhm. I
Lisa?
just think, I think, the apology thing, yeah, I just don't think that is genuine. If it takes you
Hmm.
a year to apologize, I don't even think you mean that. You got to be stopped. For real. You just have to
Well,
be stopped. I
well,
mean, it doesn't take you a year to realize that you have wronged somebody. You know what
that's
I'm
true.
saying?
That's
That's
true.
crazy.
Sometimes it take years. You said a year. Sometimes it take years for people to really realize what they
Yeah.
had. Sometimes it takes somebody new in their life to really say, you know what, damn, I really had something really special with me, and I really
Mhm.
messed that up. So I
Mhm.
really just think, even if you forgive them or not, that's on you. But I feel like for a person to come back and say, because I've had to do that, because I
Mhm.
remember how I was when I was younger. So when I see somebody, and it may be life, like let's say you got married, moved out of another state, you haven't seen this person, all of a sudden you run into him and you're like, you know what? Hey Mika, I'm really, really like I was a jackass. I really apologize. You're right. It don't take a year. Sometimes it take a year, sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes it take 10 years. It really just depends on that person. But if you mess up, if you know you did something wrong, you're right. It doesn't take long to know that you did something wrong. Now, when you apologize, that's a different story. Yeah.
Well, me and Mika got some guys that need to apologize. Y'all got to be stopped, and y'all know who y'all are.
I don't know. I don't get it. I just don't get that. That is so just like
Mika, well, she's
far
still
fetched
doing some
for me.
things.
But I, I, I forgave him for me.
That's
'Cause
good.
I
That's
know
good.
I have to forgive him for me to move on.
Exactly.
So I
And
forgave
remember,
him for me, and
yeah,
I have moved on. So I'm
that's
good with
good.
that. Maybe he needed to apologize for him. You know
Yes,
what I'm saying? To see if that'll make him feel better. I don't know. I hope that worked
exactly.
out for him.
Exactly. But you guys remember, and I don't know if it got edited or if you remember that conversation when I said putting your expectations of me on me.